The salvage squad's restoration of the 1952 Coronation-class tram is getting underway nicely. It's made its journey back to Blackpool without a hitch, and the all-important control unit has been taken out.
We don't want to wreck it, we've only got this one.
And now Jerry and our tram expert Brian Pickup are beginning to check it over.
Yeah, right then. Well, we'll start off by checking some of these connections, I think. Could be that one.
The control unit is no more than a great big electrical tap. Pushing a lever forward in the cab starts the flow of electricity to the motors. The more the lever is pushed forward, the more electricity flows and the faster the tram moves, just like opening a tap. To slow it down, you simply pull the lever back, and it's like turning off the tap again. The flow of electricity reduces and the motors slow. It's decades since this one worked, and somehow all those wires have got a bit crossed.
And so we should check which ones connect to each other.
Right, well, let's start with this one, which is marked LS, if you can find.
That's the line switch now. That should come in on this one.
Lucky we've got someone like Brian on board.
Ah, no, it doesn't. Just check that the meter works. Yes, the meter works. So we'll see which one it should come in on. Well, that looks like that's one problem we've got to solve already, because that circuit doesn't connect.
Lovely.
So we're going to have some fun here, I can see that.
Aren't we?
Yes.
MC1.
MC1, that's motor contact number 1. Now that should come in on that one there. And that doesn't connect either. Oh well.
Brilliant. Right,
good.
Fine, keep going.
Yeah, we'll try another one.
BC, go on, brake contact.
BC, brake contact to 1.
Hey, I've got this.
Well, that should connect through to something. No? Oh well, we'll have to sort these out, won't we?
So what you're trying to tell me is it's supposed to have worked 30 years ago, and right now we've got not a sausage.
Not a sausage, but there again, things have been disconnected, so we'll have to go through this and sort it all out.
You're groping in the dark, aren't you?
We are groping in the dark, yes, but we'll carry on and see how far we get.
Now, Jerry and Brian might be having a few problems making sense of that tangle of wires, but that control unit was to be the core of the Coronation's success. The technology behind its smoother and faster ride. The man who made it all happen was Walter Luff, Mr. Tram in Blackpool from 1933 to 1954. Sadly, he's dead now, but he's credited as the man who transformed Blackpool's trams in the 1930s, and I was keen to find out more about him from his daughter Daphne.
He had a 5-year plan, during which time he completely renovated the whole system. And he introduced a whole lot of new trams. They call them balloons, the big ones, and then the little ones are the rail coaches. And then there were some open deck things called boats.
Luff's new fleet were the pride of Blackpool for 20 years. But times move on, and Daphne's dad was keen to go one further and introduce a new tram that would be even better.
So this is where the Coronation came in.
I mean, he wanted something that was faster and smoother.
Yes. He wanted it to be more comfortable for the driver and the conductor as well. Give a little bit more space, because they were 50 feet long and 8 feet wide.
When it was unveiled, hundreds turned out to watch the Lord Mayor driving our Coronation along the prom. But behind the scenes, there was a battle going on in the council chambers, with many wanting to do away with the trams altogether and replace them with buses.
He had great arguments with the council and so on, but he was also fighting against sort of general opinion in the country, where other people had got rid of them and had all got these trolley buses, and they felt he was a dinosaur. In actual fact, he was far more forward-looking than any of the rest of them.
Before it entered public service, the anti-tram lobby did everything they could to discredit the new Coronation, even organising a public demonstration to prove that it was too big to go round one particularly sharp bend. But nothing would faze Walter Luff.
My father was at home with me and my mother, and at about 10:30 the phone rang, and it was Mr. Jack Parkinson, the traffic superintendent, and he said, "It's all right, sir, she's round." And my father said, "Oh, thank you very much," and he put the receiver down. And I was so surprised, because I said, "Well, weren't you could have enthused a bit, or said, weren't you pleased that it got round?" And he said, "Oh no," I said, "I knew it would go round." So I said, "Well, I know you've done all you've worked it all out, mathematically and all the rest of it." He said, "Oh no," he said, "she went round a fortnight ago. Mr. Bellhouse took her round at 2 o'clock in the morning."
Once the public got a chance to ride on them, however, it seems the problems for the Coronation were over. I've heard that when they came out, people would actually miss a few trams just in the hope of getting on a coronation.
Yes, that's quite true, they did, yes. And a lot of people just went for a ride along the promenade just for the sake of having ridden on one. They weren't really going anywhere, they just went there and back.
With all that popularity, Walter Luft's dream of a tram for the future must have seemed secure. Why then, when you can still take a ride on this balloon-class tram from the 1930s, are there no original coronation-class trams in the fleet? Sadly, that was a question even the great man's daughter couldn't answer.
I know it's something to do with the controls, but to really find out, you really ought to talk to an old driver who's had actually driven one of the coronation trams, because I don't think the people nowadays could possibly drive it, because it is so different.
So that's the next part of my quest, to find someone who actually drove one of these wonderful beasts. Back at the tram sheds, Claire and Axel are gearing up for their first big task, removing the 4 huge motors that power the tram. It's been moved over to a special pit so Axel can work underneath.
What's it look like down there?
Dirty, heavy. I think we're going to get this prop shaft off first, Claire.
Right, so we're dropping the motor, yeah?
Yeah, this big bit here.
It's a fairly straightforward job. Undo 12 bolts on the drive shaft, then another 4 big ones that actually hold the motor in.
Claire,
yeah?
how'd you get your foot off the edge? Oh, Claire, you're really going to get me in the face in a minute.
The only problem is that some of the nuts are stuck fast.
Mind my fingers.
Why suffer with a spanner when you can simply melt the nuts away?
Sorry?
This metal just turns into water.
So much more efficient than a spanner.
Done. That was amazing.
So you saw that hard spannering action?
Yeah.
Is that all of it?
Yeah, you should be able to punch these through now.
Right.
Now all that's needed is a jack underneath, 4 bolts whipped out from the top, and the whole lot can be dropped down and pulled out. Well, almost.
I'll give it another side a push and you pull, yeah?
When they've got the other 3 out, Axel's going to overhaul them at a specialist firm.
That's it.
Hopefully there'll be nothing too much wrong with them, but if there is, we'll be looking for 4 new motors.
That's a goodie.
As soon as I got back from Daphne's, I headed straight to the tram sheds, hoping to see a real transformation. But I was in for a disappointment.
Hello, stranger. How you doing?
Good. I've got to say, it doesn't look like much has changed in here, though.
Watch it.
Come on, mate. We've done loads of work. What you don't realise is that most of these trams only have 2 motors, and we had 4, and it was quite hard work getting them out.
When we wrestled them, but we did it.
But I've got to say, having travelled on some ordinary trams, you can see how much wider and bigger the interior this is.
Well, this is the ultimate 1952 tram, isn't it? They threw everything at it. Double the number of motors, make it bigger, better. The control unit, the thing that makes it go faster and slower, it's just out of this world. It's like something from Doctor Who. But we got it out, and Jerry's sorting that out at the moment with Brian. So,
Brian, he's our electrical expert.
Yeah.
I've not met him yet. Where is he?
He's lurking down the front with Jerry.
I should go and meet him. Keep up the good work.
See you later, mate.
See you later. Hello, Jerry.
Hello.
And you must be Brian.
I am.
Pleased to meet you.
How do you do?
What are we looking at here, Brian?
Well, this is the main control unit from the tram car there, and it normally lives up in the roof.
So basically, this controls the flow of electricity to the motors.
That's correct, yes. It's controlled from the driver in the cab.
The complexity of the unit really pushed the technology of the 1950s to the max. Nowadays, all this lot would be replaced by a little black box of electronics. But when Jerry took me into the cab, the controls appeared to be simplicity itself.
Well, this is it. Forward for go, and back for stop.
As opposed to having a separate brake.
As opposed to having a separate brake. You've got the braking on this.
Although it looked dead simple, there's no other tram in the Blackpool fleet that has the accelerator and the brake combined in one control. And the more I thought about it, the more I wanted to find someone with experience of driving a coronation before we let Philip loose on the prom. But if the coronation's ever going to move, then its motors will have to be overhauled. Axel's taken them to a specialist firm, and hopefully they'll need no more than a 30-year service. But if there are any more problems than that, we'll be in trouble. Axel's teamed up with Dave Hesketh, a Jeremy Clarkson lookalike, who's in charge of the firm's motor overhaul department. And like Axel, when it comes to taking things apart, he's a man who prefers heat to a spanner.
Whoa! It's been 30 years since that's been off.
With the end of the motor off, they can strip the rest of it with more conventional tools. The electric motor is in fact one of the simplest engines around. In essence, it consists of a series of electromagnets called the armature, which spin inside another set of permanent magnets. The electricity to power the electromagnets enters at the back via two bits of metal called bushes, rubbing against a ring of copper contacts around the axle.
Right, so this is what we've got. The armature here.
Yeah.
525 volts DC.
Yeah.
Into here.
Yeah.
Boost it up. This whole thing spins.
Yes.
Then gives us forward and backward motion of the axle.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Key to a smooth-running motor are the copper contacts at the back of the motor where the electricity enters. It's important that they're clean and perfectly smooth. So Axel's going to use a lathe to take off just a few thousandth of an inch of metal to make them as good as new.
I know how Jay feels now, because if I make this cut too deep, I'll mess the whole job up. Almost there. 50 years of grime, now we're going to have a brand new one.
It's perfect. You've got a perfect new copper.
You want to say that again? Huh? You want to say that again? It's perfect. I like that.
It's perfect, yeah.
That done, Axel can move on to refurbishing the metal brushes that will run on the newly cleaned contacts.
It's amazing. 50 years old, and it's brand new.
Once it's all back together, our motor heads for the test bay. It will spend its life whizzing around at 700 revs per minute. To make sure it's up to the job, Axel and Dave are going to spin it round at twice that speed. Either it will hum away nicely in a rather unspectacular way, or there'll be a big bang and a lot of blue smoke.
1200, 1300, 1400, 15, 50, 40. All right, Dave. Averaging 1250.
That's okay.
Excellent, mate. Oh, mate, I'm so happy. This.
50 years running there.
Oh, no. And it's running so smooth.
Yeah, brilliant.
Brilliant indeed. It looks like the first of Axel's motors is ready to go back in the tram. 3 more to go and we're in business.